gonna shoot something really big.
Today I'm going to talk about the psychology of a web series buyer. In this video, I'm going to cover a number of things. I'm going to cover what series buyers are most afraid of when you walk into the room, how to gain control of the room when you walk in there. At the end of the day, they've set up this meeting, they have control. How do you get that to be on your side? And what information does the average buyer need to be able to say yes to you? And if you stick around at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a bonus tip that will literally change the dynamic of every pitch you go into. This video is taken directly from my course, Pitch Beast, which is a step-by-step owner's manual for pitching content in the 21st century. It literally walks you through everything you need to create, say, and know before you walk into the room, during the pitch meeting, and what to do afterward. So stick around, watch the end. There's going to be a great tip at the end that I think is really going to help you guys. And I hope you enjoy this. When you walk into that room, and there is 3 or 4 people sitting in that conference room, and you are standing at the head with the PowerPoint and all of the stuff that comes along with a pitch. They have control. They determine when the meeting starts. They determine what time it ends. At least that's what they're thinking right now. Because the average buyer is thinking about safety. They're thinking how maybe not to say yes today. They want to say yes, but maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's the next day. Maybe it's down the road. Let's talk next week. As I said in the last module, that you're an agent of change, that you are asking these people to literally change because they have their slate. They know exactly what they do. And you asking them to purchase your show and give you permission to produce it is asking them to change. And believe it or not, content buyer or not, most people are deathly afraid subconsciously of making change. Right now is very comfortable to them. They get it. So here comes this disruptive force to come in and do that. To come in and change them. So subconsciously, it's easier for them to say no. If they say yes, as I've said before, and you've heard me say 1,000 times, they are more afraid to say yes than to say no. If they say yes, they have to justify why a big check is going to you, to their boss. And if they get it wrong, they're out. If they say no, they get to live and fight another day. Because believe it or not, you see all over the industry, if you pick up a copy of Variety or Real Screen or Hollywood Reporter, you see the changing of the guard all the time. And as somebody who pitches a lot, I often have to fight that. I'm talking to one person one week, and then I'm talking to another person the next week. So we always need to understand that they live in a precarious world, and we have to be that source of comfort. So know exactly what change you're asking them to make, and you're going to need to know what they do. For example, Discovery, male unscripted soap operas. Macho dudes running all over the world doing amazing things with groups of friends, and there's infighting and there's all of that, right? So how am I asking them to change that thing they already know? I'm not going to come in with a baking show, but I'm going to ask them to push the envelope of what they think is possible. And I have to change the dynamic of the room from them versus me to a we mentality. Again, when you walk into that room, they're saying, we get that this project means something to you, but why should it mean something to us? So get them and you to become us. The safe thing for them is to say, yeah, great, you pitched your idea. Why don't we, regroup sometime next year? sometime in the next 6 months. So at this point, it's time for you to get them to understand why now is the most important time, and need to take away that obstacle of let's talk 6 months from now. Because if you can let them know that this change benefits them and is of value to them, and shift that thing from this change is a risk to me to this change is a value to me, all of a sudden you hear them saying, you know what we can do with this? And you just heard them use the word we and us. You need to challenge them to go against the fear and tension of saying yes. These are very real feelings to them. And if you go in knowing that, you're already ahead of the game, that they're sitting there in that moment. They'll express their fear in 1,000 different ways, right? They'll try to maintain power to overcome the fear of saying yes. I'm making them sound horrible. They're actually quite delightful. But the reality is that in that little part of everybody's brain is fear of change. You need to get them to understand that the cost of doing nothing and the cost of postponing this is far greater than the cost of saying yes to you. The plot or the format or the particular dynamics of the story of your show or your film or your web series, that's one thing, and we'll go over that. But what we need to do as people who pitch content to people who buy content is, once you get them to the us mentality, you are getting them to think, yes, people like us do things like this. And once you understand that you are an agent of change, and that once you have that clicker, it is you who are the ones controlling the timing of the meeting. It is you who determines when the next slide comes up. It is you who determines what structure gets laid out in front of them. And it is you who decides how change is going to occur. And if you realize that, instead of you are just a fact machine that is spitting out a sequence of information, then you'll win 9 times out of 10. So once you go in there with the idea that you're shifting their mind and that you're in this together, you stand to have a ton more opportunity, rather than just going in and doing a list of the benefits of your show. Because it starts to get into, as I've said before, and then, and then, and then. And we're better than that. We are seeking to tell stories with people and cameras that are designed to change the world. And if we're not going into it like this, and this is simply a job, and this is simply something we do, it becomes a tough road. But if we go into it with the idea that we are literally trying to change the world, we can accomplish great things. So, that bonus tip. One question to ask them that literally changes the dynamic of a meeting and can get you to understand exactly how they think is, what's the last thing you said yes to? If you ask that before you pitch, you're going to have a really good understanding of where their energy is, where they want to put their money, where they want to invest, and curtail your pitch a little bit to sort of reflect the characteristics of the project they just said yes to. Ask them why they said yes to it. If you get them to tell you that, they're literally listing out the criteria that they look for to buy. And I promise you, I ask this in every single pitch meeting I go into. Use that tip in the next meeting and watch what it does. So if you liked this video, I want to see your comments. I want to see you press that subscribe button. There's a lot more to come. And at the end of the day, this is about getting people to sell their content and finally have that career that is based on your own original ideas, rather than selling your time for money on somebody else's ideas and just hopping on a gig, and it's never really the work that you want to do. So again, can't wait to see you guys back here. Comment, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.